All right, guys. Today Joe is going to work his shoulders and his arms. I believe he's going to start with his arms first. We finished up with that a little arm workout Friday, but he likes doing arms on Monday. So here we go for the week that's leading into the new year. We hope you all have a great new year. And while he's working, I'll give you a story. You gonna be able to count your own reps, son? All right. You just do your own thing at your will. These workouts are great for boxers. These are supersets. This is what we do, a bunch of things in one set. And this has not decreased Joe's it's built up mass on him, but it hasn't decreased his stamina, his cardio, in terms of feeding his muscles oxygen or his speed in boxing. To the contrary, it's speeding him up and helping his cardio out, well, along with everything else he does. Unfortunately, we've put some treadmill running and outside running up, but people aren't really interested in seeing a lot of running, and I don't blame you. So we'll continue to put these up. Tomorrow he'll do Mike Tyson squats, and as always, we'll have a story going on with what we're doing. With a little bit of guidance here, it's pretty self-explanatory. Joe's starting with some heavier weight, and we'll be going down to lighter weight. So, uh, so the story I'm going to give to you today, probably get two stories in. And everything relates to the fight game or boxing. I think what I'm going to talk about is some things that went on with Ali. A lot of people consider him the greatest. Of course, his boxing nickname was the greatest. Not sure here, we don't consider him the greatest, but we consider him one of the all-time greats for longevity. And boy, was he something special pre-title strip. We got two great guys we like a lot. Tyson, we talk in terms of pre-prison, the first Mike Tyson, post Mike Tyson, after prison, and we talk about Muhammad Ali in terms of pre-title stripping, because of course he refused to be drafted and fought through so he wouldn't have to go to jail like everybody else did. And so we do pre-title stripping and post-title stripping. So we're going to talk about Ali a little bit today. We're going to talk about me living it, me knowing people in boxing at the time, both times, and things I've heard from old timers and when I was younger, and what people were thinking at the moment while these things were happening. So here goes. Muhammad Ali was a very good, young, undefeated boxer. He had a good win over Sonny Liston in the first fight. In the second fight, however, there was a lot of shenanigans. And it's important to note, and I do not hear this ever mentioned from so-called boxing historians, and like you don't hear a lot of things out of just normal political or socio-political historians today. These things get skewed. They get told from leftist narratives 99% of the time. But that second fight, something was bad wrong. People, a lot of people at the time were even claiming that Ali did not really, in fact, have hernia surgery, which pushed the fight off. Everyone thought that Liston was going to kill him in this second fight, that Liston had underestimated him, and he was really going to put a licking on him this time. And Liston was looking great. Of course, Liston was a lot older than the age that he listed. According to many accounts, he could have been 40 to possibly 45 when he fought Ali the first time. But we do, and the consensus is that he was a lot older than he listed that he was. So there was shenanigans with that, and the big thing I want to tell you that I got off on was Angelo Dundee, whom was Ali's trainer and manager at that time, and trained him throughout his career. His brother, Angelo's brother, was the fight promoter. And I'm just telling you folks, boxing's, there's a lot of bad things that go on. I don't think boxing is as corrupt now as it was in yesteryear. However, there's a lot of shenanigans today, but it was very corrupt at that time. Excuse me. At that time through the 60s. Then I'm going to fast forward. We're going to go post Ali strippage. He's already lost to Joe Frazier. He slowed down a lot, and we're going to come up to George Foreman. And I want to give you what was well known or well talked about at the time. And most of us thought that that was a setup against George Foreman. And I'll tell you why. Don King promoted the fight. I believe it was in Kenya, in Africa, of course. I may be off on the country, or it's in the Congo. At any rate, Ali, now you can attribute a lot of this to the thinking part of the sport, but if you're a fighter or boxing purist, you're not going to appreciate this. You want all the fights to be fair and as equal as possible. Ali went down a lot sooner to Africa, and he had won the people over, and this was starting to have a huge effect on George Foreman. And people looking back think that Muhammad Ali was this well-loved guy from the beginning, and he was not. And he was very boisterous, and he was boisterous to the extent that many people did not like him. And from every race, he was just he was hated. He was hated by a lot of people, as a matter of fact. And but so there was a lot of psychological stuff that was happening. Later on, Muhammad Ali was very loved, but during these actual times, it was different. And after that George Foreman fight, uh, the liberals really, well, prior to that, the liberals had got on board, uh, which is going to lead us into the next story I'm going to tell you about Cuban boxing. But he had, they loosened the ropes. And when you hear rope-a-dope, and George Foreman knew this, you can go back and watch the fight. You see those ropes. Ali was able to basically stick his whole upper body outside of the ring. Nothing like that would fly before that or after that ever again. That was a one and done deal. Anyone that had boxed or had watched boxing for any period of time knew it right off. Yet the announcers never mentioned it. Isn't that amazing? And doesn't that match up to what goes on today? You'll hear the announcers, they'll take sides, they'll play ignorance in a lot of situations. And they did this during that fight. And really the thing that's very extraordinary about this is that later on, George Foreman was like, oh no, it wasn't nothing wrong with the ropes and there's nothing wrong with this or that. But George had went down just prior to the fight, and there was a big time difference there. Like I said, those ropes were very loose, and there were several other things that George Foreman had mentioned. He felt like somebody had put something in his water. He felt very sluggish and tired as the fight started, and that only progressed. And that went on for years and years until George Foreman's second stint. Then all of a sudden, as Ali is very loved and beloved by folks, and people are feeling really bad for him because he has Parkinson's and it's really starting to affect him. People changed, and they started buying into the very liberal methods and attributes that the press had always given Ali. And but I'm not telling you this story to try to make people not like Ali. I'm just trying to be honest about what was going on at the time, what we all were thinking, and such, because everything just seems to get so skewed with these things. And I'm giving you just a very general overview. You need to go do your own research and think about these things, research these things yourself. But all of a sudden, it seemed like George had his grill. Everything's going good for George, and he has a big change of heart concerning Ali, and moves on. And but the facts remain that for many years we thought this. And now I'm going to fast forward a little further. We get to Muhammad Ali had several fights that he didn't win, and Kenny Norton should have been champion the first fight that he and Kenny Norton had. And I believe Ali was champion at that moment, but maybe not. Maybe it was the second fight I'm referring to. But I think they gave Ali the decision on the second one, but maybe Ali wasn't champion then. But at any rate, Kenny Norton had beat Ali, and they gave the decision to Ali. Jimmy Young beat Ali, and they gave the decision to Muhammad Ali. And I would, on those two decisions, I would challenge anyone to go back and look at those fights. And if you reasonably know about boxing, you're going to come to and even if you don't, you're going to come to the same conclusion as we did back as it happened. So now we move a little forward and we get to oh boy, now I can't think of the guy's name. Him and his brother Spinks, Leon Spinks. This guy only had 6 fights. Muhammad Ali is damned and determined he ain't gonna let go of either of the belts. Both organizations were trying at that time to get him to go ahead and retire, so boxing could move on. And later on, after that, he held on to the WBA belt for, I believe, 1 or 2 more years, and he actually extorted the WBA, the World Boxing Association, and they had to pay him $250,000 because he wouldn't defend the belt instead of stripping him again. Now, me, I would have stripped him. You got to fight if you're holding the belt, and but he extorted. He said, "You worked the deal out. You give me $250,000, I'll retire." And they did, and he did retire. But the thing about the Spinks fight is he fought Spinks. Spinks only had 6 fights. And I don't see people mentioning this nowadays. We all knew it then. Leon Spinks was a good fighter, but he had no experience at the time. And Leon went in there and hustled him and got the title. And that allowed Ali to get the title 3 times and get out with a feat that no one had accomplished but himself. Not many people are aware that Floyd Patterson was the only guy that had ever lost the World Heavyweight Championship and then won it back. And then Muhammad Ali was able to do it, and then he was able to one up on Floyd Patterson. And a lot of people, when I say a lot, I mean most, were like, this is Dundee and Ali and Don King shenanigans. And so I don't look at Ali in the same light that most people do. I view him from a different lens. I'm not saying I hate him, no, but I just don't think he was the greatest boxer of all times by any means. Maybe things that, well, he chose to not be drafted while hundreds of thousands around him were drafted. So it's a lot of that. A lot of things are hypocritical, but people make stands, and people should make stands when they have a strong convicted belief. So, but there were a lot of things that went on that Ali did before he had the comeback fight against Larry Holmes. He was doing nothing but running around with people like Jimmy Clark and some others. Jimmy Clark was our premier super heavy at the time. for the Olympics, and they were campaigning to not go to the 1980 Olympics, which brings us roundaboutly to Jimmy Carter, who just passed away recently. God rest his soul, even though he was not a very good president, a very weak president. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a little of a gist and a little bit on boxing. Joe does this series of exercises, and he'll do 3 to 5 sets of these things. And going through and supersetting the heck out of these things and pushing yourself will allow you to build some mass, but it won't be heavy mass that will deplete oxygen and slow you down, and or just zap your oxygen to where you got no capabilities. Your capabilities diminish to last a full fight. I don't know if I'm going to do this now or not because we're running out of time, but I think when Joe comes back in, if he's done with his arms, or we'll go in and do one set probably of, I believe he's going to do shoulders like I was saying, and because we're pulling up on 21 minutes here, and I believe this will half this video on my phone here. But boxing, the history of it, everything you see with concerns to boxing, I don't care whether you're on the right or you're on the left politically, but I'm factually telling you that what you see and hear with concerns to boxing is always skewed to the left. These writers and newsmen, movie people, all these people have always been to the left. And it was no difference. But Joe's getting very big for 16-year-old. Very big for a 16-year-old. But these people in all of media and entertainment have always been to the left. And it's important for you to note that your boxing that you learn about online and in history and in books were wrote or filmed or portrayed by people that were on the left. And typically most of these people on the left are Jewish people. And then again, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm not wanting to down the Jewish people at all. But the people that have wrote these things have typically, and controlled boxing in major ways, at least the media in boxing, have been Jewish liberals. And they give you the stories they want you to hear. And the stories you get, it is what they want you to hear. And now if you're Jewish or you're whatever you are, I'm not offending you for that. But I am just telling you in this video so that it's not so political, is that people on the left are telling you and giving you different accounts than what we all thought as we were living through these things. And it's important that you all know that and you consider the sourcing on the material that you hear, read, or see. And you guys that love boxing all know what I'm talking about, because every single fight we have, you guys get all riled up on what the announcers are saying, and you always, on all these boxing channels, well, they were saying this guy was winning the whole time. No wonder the judges gave it to him, but they weren't winning. You know, the other guy was winning, and things like that. And it's a repeated thing. And what I'm telling you is, consider the sources. And these people typically have been leftist leaning, and they're not really Jews, they're atheistic Jewish people. They're lean more to the communist end of the spectrum. And they're always going to, because they always have, in Hollywood, printed media, and radio, and all of such, are not going to give you, they're going to give you the story that they want to portray to you. And God bless his soul, Bert Sugar. If you don't remember the name, if you've watched some boxing history shows, he's the guy that always wore the fedora type hat. It wasn't a fedora, it was another style of hat, and I can't think of the name of it. And always had the unlit cigar in his hand. Bert Sugar, and a lot of history. And he's skewed a lot of things, and a lot of things he's put out were over exaggerated and embellished greatly, to the extent that it should be called lying. But boxing is embellishment. And another one is the guy, Larry Merchant. The stories you get from him, and he was a newsman, and articles he has written. All these have been very, very skewed people, or not skewed people, but we've gotten skewed things that have been their opinions. You gonna work shoulders now? All right, well, we're at 27 minutes, so Joe didn't get to the shoulders, but he's doing some push-ups here, but he's gonna go on and continue to do some shoulder work. And maybe I'll put that in another video and put that up, because I got a good story about Cuban boxing I want you to hear. So we want to tell y'all, much love to you. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Joe's doing great, 16 years old. We haven't been in the gym in a couple of weeks. A few weeks, we're doing work from home. But he's going to be back in, and we'll continue on. I'll probably put up a part 2 to this, which will be the shoulder work in this. And much love to you all. We want to finish this video with what we always finish with. We are Christians up in here, and in all our imperfectness and all of our non-goodness that we possess, we claim Christ up in here. And much love to you all, and we hope you have a good new year.